Elisabeth Báthory. In the late 1500s, the name Elisabeth Báthory became associated with increasingly disturbing reports across Eastern Europe. As a noblewoman, she controlled vast estates, multiple castles, and a large number of servants, people who depended entirely on her authority. She arranged for young girls from poor families to be brought to her estates, often under the promise of work or education. But many of them were never seen again. Witness testimonies later described that these girls were kept inside her castle and subjected to harsh punishments. What made these accounts especially unsettling was the pattern behind them. This wasn't a single incident. It was repeated behavior over years. When authorities finally investigated, they reportedly found evidence suggesting that multiple victims were connected to her household. Despite the seriousness of the accusations, she was never publicly executed. Instead, she was confined inside her own castle, where she remained until her death. A woman who once controlled the lives of many ended up losing all control over her own. Irma Grese. Irma Grese was part of a system that controlled millions of people during the Holocaust. As a guard in concentration camps such as Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen, she held direct authority over prisoners. Her responsibilities included enforcing discipline, supervising inmates, and carrying out orders within the camp system. Survivor accounts describe that she actively participated in punishments and was involved in selections, moments where decisions were made about who would continue working and who would not. These decisions had immediate and irreversible consequences. She was not just present, she was part of the operational control within the system. After the war, she was captured and put on trial. Her actions were examined in detail, and she was ultimately sentenced to death. Her story shows how individuals can actively contribute to large-scale systems of control and suffering. Wu Zetian ruled over one of the most powerful empires of her time, the Tang dynasty of China. As emperor, she held authority over millions of people, the entire government structure, and major political decisions. To reach that level of power, she systematically removed rivals who threatened her position. This included political opponents and individuals within her own circle. Accusations and investigations were used strategically to eliminate competition. Once in power, she built a system that reinforced her control. Officials were chosen based on loyalty and competence, but always remained under her influence. She also relied on intelligence networks to monitor potential threats and maintain authority. At the same time, she introduced reforms that strengthened the state, improved administration, and expanded opportunities for capable individuals. Her rule was defined by both efficiency and strict control. She didn't just gain power, she structured it in a way that kept her at the center of it. Catherine de' Medici. Catherine de' Medici held significant influence over France during one of its most unstable periods. Although she was not always the official ruler, she controlled key political decisions that affected the entire country. France was deeply divided by religious conflict, and Catherine was directly involved in actions taken against opposing groups. The events surrounding the Bartholomew's Day massacre demonstrate this clearly. Following a political gathering, targeted attacks began against Protestant leaders. What started as a controlled action quickly escalated into widespread violence across Paris and eventually the country. Thousands of people lost their lives. While historians still debate the exact level of her responsibility, she is widely considered a central figure behind the decisions that led to these events. Her influence shows how political power can shape events on a massive scale. Belle Gunness didn't rule a nation, but she controlled something just as powerful: the trust of her victims. On her farm in Indiana, she created an environment where she had complete control over anyone who entered. She placed advertisements in newspapers, presenting herself as someone looking for a partner. Men traveled from different regions to meet her, often bringing money or savings with them. Once they arrived, communication with the outside world stopped. Over time, multiple missing persons cases were linked to her. Investigations later uncovered evidence on her property, suggesting that several of these disappearances were not accidental. What makes her case especially disturbing is the level of planning behind it. These were not random actions. They followed a consistent pattern with a clear goal. Before authorities could fully uncover the truth, Belle Gunness disappeared. To this day, it remains unclear whether she escaped or staged her own disappearance. Mary I of England. Mary I ruled England as queen, holding authority over an entire nation. She used that power to enforce religious policies aimed at restoring Catholic control across the country. Her government introduced laws that allowed the prosecution of individuals based on their religious beliefs. People who refused to follow her policies were arrested, tried, and publicly punished. These public punishments served a purpose. They reinforced her authority and discouraged resistance. Over 200 individuals were executed during her reign. These were not isolated decisions, but part of a structured effort to reshape the country's religious identity. Mary used her position to directly influence the beliefs and behavior of an entire population. Ilse Koch used her position inside the concentration camp Buchenwald to exert influence. The camp was part of the Nazi system, where thousands of people were imprisoned, forced into labor, and kept under total control. As the commandant's wife, she had access to prisoners and authority within this environment. Witness testimonies report that she specifically selected inmates who caught her attention. Many of them disappeared from daily camp life and were never seen again. For those prisoners, this usually meant being removed into processes that they did not survive. She didn't just exist within the system, she actively used it, influencing outcomes that directly affected the fate of others. After the war, she was arrested and put on trial. Her case became widely known and is still discussed today as an example of how individuals can contribute to extreme systems of power. Ranavalona I ruled the Marina Kingdom on Madagascar with absolute control. She enforced strict laws and used extreme loyalty tests to maintain her power. One of the most feared methods required people to prove their innocence through dangerous ordeals. Many did not survive these trials. She also ordered the removal of political opponents and anyone seen as a threat, ensuring that resistance was quickly eliminated. At the same time, she isolated her kingdom by expelling foreign influences and restricting outside contact, cutting off new ideas and external support. Her rule affected large parts of the population and created a system where fear, control, and obedience were central to maintaining her power.